Well, welcome to another edition of Akau TV. I'm joined this evening by six-time Karaka Million winning trainer Jamie Richards. How are you tonight, mate?
Yeah, good, Hazy. Yep, been a big few days, but no, all good. Looking forward to the weekend.
Well, talk us through Saturday. Some great results there. Obviously, Dynastic winning the 2-year-old race. The Spruik favourite, OP the man, back on board, and the money came for him late. What a performance that was at only his second start.
Yeah, for sure, he's a quality colt, and we've always sort of rated him highly. And yeah, it's great when it all comes together. He obviously hadn't raced since Boxing Day. The blinkers went on. He'd been up to Ellerslie and had another bit of a look around, and he stripped in great order. And he's given a lovely ride. He sort of ended up back a bit, followed the favourite into it, and come to her outside and quickened in really well. So very proud of him, and very proud of all of our staff, and great for the ownership group, the Colt Syndicate and Cambridge Stud. Al Mansour's first winner in the Southern Hemispheres in a $1 million stakes race. So yeah, it was a night that was pretty important to all of us.
Absolutely, and what a fantastic result for Cambridge Stud and some of the owners of the Colt Syndicate that he's in there with a couple of other horses as well. So definitely one to watch out for in the future. Where's he off to next?
He'll probably go straight to Ellerslie. He's a 2-year-old that doesn't want too much racing because we've got big plans for him next season. So he'll probably go straight to Ellerslie off the back of a trial run in the Group 1, and then we might just see what happens with Manawatu, but he won't be doing a lot of racing for the rest of the season. He's a big, immature sort of 2-year-old, and we just want to look after him and make sure he's 100% for next year.
Fantastic, and he'll be one of those horses that I'm sure that you'll be sad to leave behind when you depart in a few months' time. And of course, lightning struck twice in the evening, and of course when we went to race 6, the Karaka Million Classic, Pin Me Up was aided by a great ride by Sam Weatherly and came down the outside and blew them all away. A great result for, I think he's a single owner in the horse, and a great result for obviously Pins and Waikato Stud as well.
Yeah, for sure. So Pin Me Up was very, as you said, very well ridden by Sam Weatherly and very well prepared by everybody down at the Unibarn there. She's really peaking on the night, and a filly that has been slow to mature, but we've taken our time with her, spaced her races out a little bit, and got the feeling that she was sort of starting to come right. Hard to tip her in the race where you've got the $1.80 favourite, but unfortunately he had no luck in the running, and we were able to win the other big $1 million race. So yeah, it's fantastic for, as you say, Peter Collier, who owns her in Sydney, for Andy Williams, who bought her, for the whole team at Waikato Stud, and for the great sire that Pins was, and what a way for him to go out with one of his last crops.
Absolutely, and a good lesson probably for me as well. You can never be too confident in an 18-horse field, and horses can get beat at any time. So I guess just touching on those two runners on the bubbles, where does he head to next? And then obviously Pin Me Up as well.
On the bubbles, we'll go back to Ellerslie on the 5th of March for the Mufasa, and then on to the Vin Classic. And Pin Me Up, she's going to run again on the 12th in the Bosses race at Te Rapa, the Fillies Classic there.
Can she get the Oaks distance?
She's bred to. She's by Pinzer and O'Reilly mare out of as a Beale mare. Good staying family that Wexford have had a bit to do with. So she can get out and trip. She won't take a lot of racing. She's not she's a lightly framed sort of filly. So I think we'd be getting there on maybe 2 more runs. But yeah, she can. We'll know a lot more after Te Rapa. It's a bit of a fork in the road for her. She gets to 2,000 metres, and she either keeps going out and trip towards Trentham, or she comes back and trip for a Living Classic or something like that. So plenty of options for a quality filly like her.
Perfect. And it was great to see the Colt Sword of State come back from Australia. Obviously a disappointing campaign over there, and chalk up the win on Saturday night.
Yeah, and carried a bit of weight. But he's given a lovely ride by Opie and managed to just sort of control the race from where he was and quickened up well. Imperatriz is no slouch. So, yeah, the two of them both ran really well. And as you say, great to see Sword of State back in winning form. He'll probably run against the older horses in the King's Plate at Ellerslie on the 5th, and then maybe the Cambridge Breeders' Stakes or something like that after that for him. But he's going really well and back in form.
Great. And of course, you were down at Ellerslie today, a whole heap of trialists down there. There was one horse that caught my eye, an Extravagant filly. She looks like a horse on the way up.
Yeah, Dynatosia is a nice filly. She's, as you say, by Extravagant, out of an Exceed and Excel mare. She's got plenty of natural strength about her, and I'm sure that she'll be winning races as a 2-year-old. So watch out for her in the coming weeks.
And anything else you like the look of today?
It's good to see Quattro Quinta back. He trialled up well early in the day. Into Taku, he's been off the scene a little while, just got held up with him, so he's on the way back, hopefully towards the Levin Classic as well. So I think both of those 3-year-olds, you can watch out for them in the coming weeks, as well as that nice 2-year-old in Dynatosia.
Great. And I guess just touching on the week that's been, we snuck in with race 1 at Matamata before the card was abandoned there on Wednesday. Madam Moet won for Fortuna. Opie guided her home beautifully. I think there was a bit of slipping on the turn there. Can you talk through her performance quickly?
Yeah, she won really well. She's a mare that's needed a bit of time. She's not the easiest to train. She's not a very good traveller. She's naughty in the gates. So she's had the benefit of doing a bit of racing on her home track, and she wears a fair bit of gear. She wears a brow band. She wears earmuffs, nose bands. So she's certainly a little bit cantankerous, but it was great to see her win so well, and hopefully she can continue to step up.
Great. And then the form continued across to Hastings on Thursday with a Malfi Prince and Nasenko chalking up wins there.
Yeah, Malfi Prince is really good. He's a horse that we've always sort of liked. He's an immature horse that doesn't carry a lot of condition. His first 2 runs were great. He's a little bit plain at Tauranga, but we just spaced his races out and did a bit of work on him, and thankfully he was able to bounce back into form. So he's probably going to be thrown in the deep end in the Avondale Guineas. Give him a chance and see where he sits amongst some of the 3-year-olds. I don't think it's a stellar crop this year. Pretty even sort of lineup. There's no sort of pin-up boy amongst the boys' ranks. So we're going to probably give him a crack there. And the second winner was Nasenko. She's a mare or filly that we like, that we train for Valachi. She's been backed and beaten a couple of times, including last start where she got it horribly wrong at the start when leaving the gates. But good to see her bounce back, given a good ride by Craig Rules. And she didn't really want to win, but he threw her over the line, and hopefully she can take a good bit of confidence out of that and look forward to her next time out to a mile.
Absolutely. And you've had a throw at the stumps in the Avondale Guineas before with horses like Ginger Nuts that won at $41 and put their hands up for the Derby from there as well. So it's a race that can produce unexpected results. So moving along to the races this weekend, we've got Riccarton, one runner down to Riccarton, a few engaged down at Trentham, and then a number of horses over at Ellerslie on Sunday. Just quickly, in the Wellington Cup, I saw that Leaderboard Scratch and Campionessa runs at Ellerslie on Sunday that was listed to go around at Trentham.
Yeah, absolutely gutted about Leaderboard. Thought the horse was in great shape to be a winning chance, but unfortunately he's a European import that does have trouble with his feet. And on Thursday morning, he came out of the box quite sore and feeling his near front foot. He's got an abscess brewing, but it's just too close to the race. If the race had been Sunday, Monday, might have been a chance, but just with the travel to get down there and all of those sorts of things, he's just couldn't risk him. And as you say, Campionessa, she's in the Duro Cup, which has come up a really strong race at Wellington. So we decided to stay home at Ellerslie a little bit closer. She only raced last Wednesday at Te Rapa, so a float, saving on a float trip won't hurt her.
Great. Well, we'll kick off at Riccarton, race 3, the Karaka 2022, 7th to 12th of March, rating 74. It's over 1,200 metres. We've got Challa drawn barrier 10 with Sanu Talila on board.
Yeah, he's drawn the outside, but he'll roll forward. He's got plenty of natural speed. Just thought he should have kicked a little bit better at Mungatui the other day. He had a good blow afterwards. So I think he's going to strip a little bit fitter, and I'd be disappointed if he wasn't in the first 2 or 3.
Great. And moving across to Trentham, race 2, the Little Avondale, big on winning premier, 3-year-old set weight and penalty 1,200. We've got I Wish I Win from barrier 3 with Opie Boston on board.
Yeah, so he's obviously coming back from a bit of a disappointing run in the 2000 Guineas, where we just felt, probably just felt the firmer track a little bit. So he had an exhibition gallop at Te Rapa last Wednesday, seems to be in good shape. He's got the nice gait. Went back to 1,200 is no problem for him on the fresh side, and expecting him to run well.
Great. Is he better suited to the shorter distance?
I'm not entirely sure. He could well be, but at the same time, the family does get out and trip a little bit. So he's on a path towards the Levin Classic if we can get him there back out to a mile.
Great. And moving down to race 6, the Group 3 New Zealand Bloodstock Desert Gold Stakes. It's for the 3-year-old fillies, set weights over a mile. We've got 2 last start impressive winners, the first of which is Invincible for the Gartshaws, drawn barrier 3 with Opie Boston on board.
Yeah, so these two fillies both won at Te Rapa last week, and this isn't usually an overly strong field. I think if you take out the top three, then it's basically, or the top four, that's basically just a rating 65 race. So we were keen to leave our options open. These girls both did a little bit of work on Wednesday morning and looked sharp, so don't seem to have taken any trouble from their last victories. So Invincible is a filly that's taken a little while to sort of learn her craft. She wants to over race and do things a bit wrong, but she's drawn to get a sweet trip from there. We won't push the button or anything. We'll just sort of get her in a rhythm and bring her to the outside. And I think she'll enjoy the big roomy spaces at Trentham and be disappointed if she couldn't step up and sort of be a first full chance.
Great. And Polly Plum, drawn barrier 5 with Joe Cameron on board.
Yeah, she went forward and led and dictated and won very easily at Te Rapa Wednesday week ago. 1300, she's up to the mile now, which we don't believe is any problem. She's a beautiful filly, black. And she's drawn well. We'll go forward, put her up in the race, and again I think she'll enjoy the big roomy spaces of Trentham and should be a nice chance. Lee Creek's obviously the one to beat, but it's racing, and we saw what happened on Saturday night on the Bubbles, Hazy, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, moving down to the Group 1 on the cards, so race 7, the Group 1 Harcourt's Thornbury Mile. Open set weight and penalties affair over the mile, as I mentioned. First up, we've got Predator, drawn barrier 8. Very well weighted, I thought, with 55 kilos, and Opie Boston on board.
Yeah, the handicap sort of system there, the set weights and penalties suits him. He's a horse that he hasn't won for a fair while now, but I think the miles is pet trip. We've really kept him nice and fresh, have him up on his toes for a good strong mile. He's probably going to be midfield with a bit of cover and should be closing off very well. But it's a really good rendition of the race. It's an open race. There's a lot of chances, but if he gets the right run, gets away from the barrier cleanly, he's got a big chance.
One thing that I do need to be educated on, so the Ritual winner has won a Group 3, but nothing else, but is the top weight against winners of Group 1 races. How does that work?
He's been penalised for his current form.
Right.
He's won a Group 2, and he's got right up in the handicaps. He's a boy, whereas those two highly weighted fillies are both girls, so they're off a lower weight. So yeah, he's hard done by under this scale.
Right.
But that's the punt you take, and that's just the way it is for him in this particular race.
I guess that kind of leads us to our next runner, who ran a very close second to that horse in the Ritual Mile, but meets him, I think, almost 6 kilos better off at the weights, or 5.5 kilos better off at the weights, with Mai Tai, with Ashvin Gundasamy on board.
Yeah, so as you say, she meets him an awful lot better, and again, she's a mare that's only won a listed race, and that was last season. So I'm not exactly sure how the weights of these sorts of races work, but she's obviously a mare, gets a bit of an allowance, and she looks to be very well weighted in this particular race. Although in saying that, if you were to be running her in a true handicap against the Chosen One or Two Illicit or Concert Hall, she is poorly weighted when you take into account her rating. So look, that's for the form experts, but all I know is that our two horses are going really well. She's drawn a bit of an awkward barrier. We'll try and be a little bit positive from there, end up midfield with a bit of cover if we can. And another that's going to enjoy the big roomy spaces at Trentham. She takes a little while to warm up through her gears, but she gets the right run in the race. She's going to be a chance, and I think you could say that for most of the field. So it's going to be a good wide open sort of betting race.
Great. And moving on to race 7, the Stephanie Murray Mortgages Premier, rating 74, benchmark 2100. We've got Exhortation, drawn barrier 12 with Joe Cameron on board.
Yeah, so this is a mare that was in at Matamata on Wednesday. Just left her in case the track deteriorated, so had a little bit of luck there. She's out to the middle distance for the first time, but I believe she's really going to enjoy it. She's drawn a little bit awkward in 12. We've probably got to go back, right, sort of similar to how we did at Otaki. But if she sees out the trip, I think she's going to be a really nice chance. But again, she's by not a single doubt who's not really a sprinting sire, not really a staying sire. But look, she's going really well. Been happy with her work and looking forward to seeing how she's going to front up.
Great. Well, that wraps up the runners at Trentham and across to Ellerslie on Sunday. So we kick off in race 1, the HR Fiskins and Sons Limited 1400. It's an open handicap. I understand Brando's flying at the moment, drawn barrier 6 with Opie Boston on board.
He's had the best gear change in the world, Hazy. he's been gelded since his last run, and his mind's right on the job. So he had an exhibition gallop at Te Rapa last week. I think the horse is going well. He's drawn the outside in a small field, so we'll just look to ride him for a bit of cover. But hopefully he can race well. I certainly think he's in a good shape and a good space at the moment. The rail is out 12 metres, which favours those on-speed runners. So we'll just have to be a little bit mindful of that as well.
Great. And moving on to race 3, the Mount Shop 1100. It's a rating 74 benchmark. We've got Navalha for Fortuna with Opie Boston on board. Sorry, I had to have 2 cracks at that.
So he's a horse that we've had a lot of trouble with in the early part of the season. He's had a couple of flat tyres and he's had a bit of trouble with a couple of bad bloods and things like that. So he's had 5 trials since he last raced over 3 different preparations. He trialled well on the synthetic last time. Got a little bit of a reminder about what this racing game's about, because he has been known to just bludge a little bit, but he's drawn the soft gate. He's got the right man on top of him, and we think he's a nice each-way chance. Fresh off a long break, 1100 should suit him.
Great. And race 5, the Dunstan Feeds 1600. It's a rating 74 benchmark. Campionessa, who you mentioned was scratched from Trentham, lines up at Ellerslie, drawn barrier 12 with Opie Boston on board.
Yeah, she was able to get a bit of confidence and won a pretty soft rating 74 midweek at Te Rapa last Wednesday. She's been racing, really well without a lot of luck before then. Again, she's drawn awkward, but her sort of pattern is to get back a little bit and find the line. So we'll leave that up to Opie. Her track work's been good. She's going to be closing hard.
Great. And race 7, the Hanui Farms 2100. It's rating 74 benchmark. We've got a horse that came out of the Campionessa race last Wednesday with She's a Thinker. She looks like she's going well, Jamie. Drawn barrier 7.
And she will enjoy the step up to 2100. She's a mare that's had a few issues, and we've always sort of struggled to keep her sound and happy and get her out and trip after a few prep runs. But this time she heads into the race in really good shape. She jumps and puts herself on the speed. She's got the 2 kilo allowance of Joe, and expected to be a nice chance, probably one of our better ones for the day.
Great. In race 10, the Dunstan Recovery Mash 1200. It's a maiden race. We've got 2 runners lining up. The first of which is Flat Track Bully, which you kind of had been at Ellerslie during your career as well, mate. So race 4, drawn barrier 4 with Opie Boston on board.
Yeah. So these last 3 races were added from the Matamata meetings. So full kudos to NZTR there for getting these meetings on and getting these horses out racing for their owners and giving them a chance to earn some stake money. Flat Track Bully's a bit of a tricky sort of horse. You ride him too handy, pulls his block off. So you've just got to ride him a bit quiet and save him for one run. And yeah, if you take him on his 2 starts ago, it's got to be a chance. And our second runner in that race is Midnight Special, another little tricky customer that's been inclined to over race in most of her races. So she races with the earmuffs on for the first time, and I hope just to chill her out a little bit. She's drawn 8, which is a little bit awkward. We'll just see how she jumps. But I think she can get back in form on Sunday and expect her to run well.
Great. And race 11, the Bellardo at Hanui Farm 1200. It's a maiden race. We've got 2 runners, the first of which will be wearing the good colours that have been winning recently. The nice, what are they? The cerise or pink. Deceptive, drawn barrier 4 with Opie Boston on board.
The pink and black of Richards Racing. So, yeah, this is a horse that's taken an awfully long time to mature. Mum and Dad have had to show a bit of patience here with him, but he's going well. Work's been good. Just a little bit concerned he hasn't trialled right-handed. He's done a fair bit of work at home right-handed, but he hasn't been under race day or, sort of trial pressure right-handed. So that would be the only negative for him, but he's a good galloper. Looking forward to him making his debut.
Great. And the next one, a little bit bossy, drawn barrier 4 with the Inform Apprentice Narajan Palmer on board.
Yep. So this one's owned by the Kaz and named after someone pretty special to you, Hazy. So
absolutely, there's a lot of people that could fit in that category, Jamie, that I know.
So she's going well. We've had a little bit of trouble with her. She went to Taranaki and she's late scratched in the gates beginning of December, or middle of December, and then we took her to the synthetic trials and she trialled well, behaved well there. So look, she can gallop. We've just got to get on top of her manners. She's going to race with the earmuffs on. Nice handy barrier, can hold a spot from the inside and got to be an equal chance.
Fantastic. Well, I can hear one of them calling out upstairs, so we'll try and rattle through this. What's the best bet for the weekend?
The best bet, okay. Got Dynastic home last week.
Yep.
What about, why don't we give Chella a bit of confidence down in the South
There we
Island?
go.
3. Got to carry a bit of weight, but surely he's due a turn.
On his way home with a win, hopefully in the back pocket. We'll see how he goes. So next week quietens down a bit. I think we've got Te Rapa on Wednesday, and then I think it's some pretty low key meetings at New Plymouth and Wingatui on Saturday before we kind of head to a big week the following on Premier Day at Te Rapa, where they have their Legends Day. So, what kind of horses can we see line up over the next couple of weeks?
We'll have a nice team for Te Rapa on Wednesday. Obviously, horses that have been missed out here at Matamata on Wednesday, some of those will go there. On Trivia is going to have a trial before the first race on Wednesday, just a tick over trial as she leads into Te Rapa. And a couple to look out for next Saturday at Taranaki would be Outfit in the 3-year-old fillies race. She's going well. And Maven Bell, the impressive debut winner at Tiaraha, is going to the Taranaki 2-year-old stakes race. So I'd certainly be keeping an eye on those two.
Well, great. Thanks for catching up, Jamie, and congratulations on what's been a fantastic week for you and the team, and we'll catch you again next week.